Hey folks, this is Kalani. Unlocking flying for the Shadowlands expansion is going to be much faster than we first thought. We still need to complete some story segments in the new patch, but we don't have to finish the entire new campaign like we previously assumed. In fact, we're going to be able to unlock the ability to fly within the first 3 weeks of patch 9.1 going live. So let's break it all down and check out exactly how to unlock flying in patch 9.1. The requirements to unlock flying for this expansion are significantly easier to complete, mainly because you don't really have to go out of your way to do anything crazy. There's no reputation grind, there's no massive time gates, it's not based on your covenant progress, your sanctum upgrades, your followers, your anima contributions, or anything like that. The only thing you have to do to unlock flying this time around is complete 3 chapters of the new patch 9.1 story. The achievement for completing the entire story is called the Chains of Domination, and you can see all of the chapters listed on that achievement here. There are 7 in total, and as soon as you get to this point, where you have completed the Battle of Ardenweald, the Moorwalkers, and the Last Sigil, at the end of the questline for that 3rd chapter, you get an item that unlocks flying for your entire account. That means you also only really have to do this once if you absolutely hate story quests for whatever reason, so as long as you get to this point in the story on at least one character, all of your characters will be able to fly in Shadowlands. The Battle of Ardenweald chapter involves our defense of Ardenweald and the Winter Queen. The jailer has sent his forces en masse, and obviously that's not very nice, so we send our best and brightest. That's you to fend him off. This chapter ends with us devising a method for taking the fight to the jailer to allow the Covenant to pass freely in and out of the moor so we can hit him where it really hurts. That moves on to the Moorwalker chapter, which is our initial entry into Korthia, the new zone. After a bit of an adventure with Venari, we set up a second portal into the moor, and you earn the ability to use your mounts in the moor finally. No more special moor mounts. You can ride around on your favourites once again without a care in the world. You also unlock access to all of the previously locked areas of the moor, so if you didn't keep up with your Venari rep and couldn't enter the Beast Warrens, for example, after you complete this first little section of the new stuff in 9.1, you also gain access to everything else in the moor, which is really cool if you wanted to play some alts or swap characters for the next patch. After that, Venari has a few other favours to ask of you, and a few story plot points later that I really don't want to spoil because it gets really juicy and it's a lot of stuff that we didn't already know from the BlizzCon previews. You face off against the Eye of the Jailer itself. This is the end of the 2nd chapter, the Moorwalkers, and while this is a very important stepping stone for getting to that all-important 3rd chapter, this 2nd chapter is where you remove the effects of the Eye of the Jailer. So that's also something that is incredibly early on in patch 9.1, and I'm sure it's something many players will want to complete so they don't have to worry about any time limits in the moor. At this point you've removed 2 of the major hindrances of the entire moor zone, the Eye of the Jailer debuff and the whole no mounts deal. That is going to be very significant. And then the 3rd chapter is chock-a-block with spoilers, so I'll just say at the end of the 3rd chapter you are rewarded with the item that lets you unlock flying. Working my way through those first 3 chapters took about 2 hours all told, but I am assuming that we won't have access to all 3 chapters right from the get-go. From the pacing of the quests, I would expect to unlock Korthia in week 1, along with the ability to mount and all that wonderful jazz. Then in week 2 we would get the questline to face off against the Eye of the Jailer to remove that pesky problem, and then in the 3rd week of the patch we would see the 3rd chapter open up. That's the most likely pacing in my opinion, but if the dev team is feeling generous, I could see the first 2 chapters being available when the patch launches. That would make the moor zone much more playable in that very first week, with the 3rd chapter opening up in the 2nd week. Either way, we'll be waiting 2 or 3 weeks until we can finish Chapter 3 and unlock flying for all of our characters, so it really isn't that long to wait, which I am definitely a fan of. Now there are still some restrictions to flying this time around. First, we cannot fly in Oribos. I don't know if they think we'll try to fly up the anima beam and back into the real world, or because we'll fly down to the bottom of Oribos and all chill out in the hard to reach areas, or because it's just kind of rude to all of the attendants to fly around their heads. But either way, there will be no flying in Oribos, sadly. We also will not be able to fly in the Moor zone. This one kind of makes sense, I guess. It's still the big bad's main base of operations, and flying would completely trivialize the entire zone. That second point probably has more to do with this restriction in my opinion, but if there was a zone that had the highest chance of being excluded from the flying unlock, it's going to be the Moor, and we knew it. This restriction does extend to the new zone in the Moor, Corthia. This would have been an amazing zone to fly around from what I've seen so far. There are ruins scattered everywhere, and little land masses off on the sides, and holes everywhere. And I mean everywhere. You best watch where you're running in Corthia or you'll fall down a hole, so no flying here either for the time being. But you can freely fly throughout the other 4 zones of the Shadowlands, so Bastion, Maldraxxus, Revendreth, and Ardenweald. As soon as you land in one of these zones from your Oribos flight path, you can take to the skies as often as you want. This is going to make it significantly faster and easier to complete world quests, collect treasures, locate and kill rares, complete side quests and story quests you may have left behind, and honestly anything else that requires moving through a zone. This will also significantly increase your farming potential for mining and herbing. You no longer have to worry about verticality. You can zip up and down cliffs just to grab that next herb node without walking all the way around. And flying mounts are quite a bit faster when compared to ground mounts. This is definitely going to be the time for the druids to shine again with their flight form herbing powers. So if you haven't gotten your druid herbing alt leveled up yet, patch 9.1 is going to be a fantastic time to make use of them. I also expect this increased farming effectiveness to maybe lower the price of herbs and consumables in general, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. That's also going to be quite server dependent. But speaking of leveling, seeing as this flying unlock is account-wide, this also means any of your alts who have been left behind up until now will get a massive boost to their leveling speed if you unlock flying ASAP in 9.1. Being able to fly between bonus objectives, or fly to the next quest hub, or just fly over and around many of the terrain obstacles that slow you down while questing is going to speed everything up so much. So if you thought flying wouldn't be worth picking up in 9.1 for whatever reason, I would say you are very wrong. It's also so much easier to earn flying in Shadowlands when compared to previous expansions, so it's really a no-brainer this time around if you ask me. But that's everything you need to know about how to unlock flying in patch 9.1. Are you surprised about how early we can unlock flying this time around? Which flying mount are you most excited to use again in the Shadowlands? Leave all your thoughts in the comment section below. A big thank you to all of our supporters over on Patreon and to everyone who subscribed on Twitch. You can see their names floating by on screen. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you never miss another video. Thanks for watching folks, good luck and have fun, and as always I will see you next time.